Throughout this season, the Nationals captured the hearts of baseball fans across the region and across the country. America fell in love with the Nats baseball. They just fell in love with Nats baseball. That's all they wanted to talk about. That and impeachment. I like Nats baseball much more. You were down 6 runs against the Mets. In the bottom of the ninth, you scored 7 runs. I do remember that well, including an amazing 3-run homer by Kurt Suzuki. Where's Kurt? Where is he? Come on. Come here. Come here. Say a couple words. Come on. Oh. I love him. Oh. That's so nice.
I love you all. I love you all. Thank you.
There's this thing Trump does at rallies where he claims that the cameras in the back suddenly turn off when he starts criticizing the media. He said this again on Friday, Daniel, and it was a lie again, right?
It was a lie again. We had a photojournalist on scene who never stopped recording, and even when he does stop recording, there's no light on his camera that turns on and off. He has it permanently set to off. And so this is the president looking his supporters in the eye and telling them that something in that very room that they all are sharing together is happening when it's not. I think this is egregious lying, and not just because I now work for CNN.
And it's such a specific detail. I think that's what is striking about it, and that's why I'm glad you highlighted it this weekend. When we know for a fact that Trump is lying to his crowd about CNN turning off a live feed of his rally, if we know that, and we do, then doesn't that make us doubt everything else he's saying? Or rather, shouldn't that make us doubt everything else he's saying?
Yeah, I think he's given us reason to doubt literally everything he's saying. I think one of the things that distinguishes Trump as a liar is that he lies about even the most trivial stuff, even the most obvious stuff. So it's not just the typical political lying to defend oneself against a scandal when backed into a corner. He is proactively lying about tiny stuff all the time.
And this brings us to the al-Baghdadi raid from last weekend, because the president claimed repeatedly that this dead terrorist was whimpering and crying right before he blew himself up. The New York Times has looked into this in more detail, found multiple sources in the Defense Department who have no idea what the president's talking about. And we've heard from the Defense Secretary and others on the record saying they can't confirm any whimpering, any crying. It does seem the president made up these details about what was a excellent day for the United States military, and yet Trump took it too far. He made up these details about a terrorist whimpering and crying. How do you handle this when you can't definitively prove that he's making it up, but he's lost the benefit of the doubt on these issues?
So I still try to give Trump maximal benefit of the doubt, even after thousands of lies and other false claims. So I don't think at this point that I'm going to include that on my weekly list of false claims, because there is still some tiny possibility, even if it seems highly unlikely, that he is not making this up. So I think what we do in these cases where it's not sure is that we provide the context. We provide the quote if we need to, and then we say the commander of Central Command, the Secretary of Defense, and other defense officials said they cannot confirm these details. Give readers the context and help them understand at least.
Right, present it all in that way. Daniel, do you think that there is measurably a worsening that's happening? Meaning, are there a greater volume of lies now than a year ago?
So a year ago actually was his peak, because it was the midterm campaign period, and as I said to you earlier, there seemed to be a deliberate strategy of dishonesty during the run-up to that 2018 vote. But this period is, he is being more frequently dishonest in this period than he was elsewhere last year, and elsewhere last year was also more dishonest than he was in 2017. So aside from that midterm spike, there has been a general increase between 2017, 2018, and now 2019.
CNN's Evan Perez reports that Attorney General William Barr's probe into the origins of the 2016 Russia investigation has now expanded into a criminal probe, according to a person familiar with the matter. The New York Times first reported this just earlier tonight. Here's a key passage from the New York Times, quoting, "The move gives the prosecutor running it, John H. Durham, the power to subpoena witness testimony and documents, to impanel a grand jury, and to file criminal charges." Jeff, explain why this is significant.
Well, as you quoted, once there's a criminal investigation, the prosecutors have criminal process. They can get search warrants, they can get grand jury subpoenas, they can bring people to a grand jury. You know, it ratchets up the pressure on the people who are the subjects of the investigation. It's important to point out that just because there is a criminal investigation doesn't mean any crime occurred, much less that specific people committed a crime. But for the people who have been the targets of what seems like a right-wing conspiracy theory, led by Sean Hannity and Donald Trump, it's got to be an unnerving experience to know that this is now ratcheted up to that level.
And for those who believe that the Justice Department and Attorney General Barr in particular is essentially, being a henchman for President Trump, this will only reinforce that idea.
I mean, when you consider all the legal issues facing the United States of America, that the Attorney General has traveled to Italy and other places around the world on this, what seems to me, wild goose chase, is really remarkable, but it shows how much this obsession with showing that the Russia investigation was somehow illegitimate at its inception has been a guiding principle of this Justice Department.
The economy, the job market is really hot right now, and no matter what industry it is, people are having trouble keeping people. How are you handling that?
The fight for talent is fierce. I've never seen it be harder or more expensive in my whole career in the restaurant business. So you have to do a number of things. You got to create a place where people believe in, an ethos that team members want to work for. It's got to be comfortable. It's got to be flexible. It's got to do things like the 4-day work week. And it's just important for us to be diverse, inclusive. That's what makes the best thought, the best teams, and a place where people want to stay.
The 4-day, 40-hour work week that you guys started, you're just trying it out, and how's it going?
I grew up in the restaurant business since I was 13. The days of the restaurant business have been, look, you work really hard, you're never home, you work 6-7 days a week and 12, 14-hour days. And lately we've started challenging that notion. And in some of our West Coast Shacks, we've started testing a 4-day work week. And for a team member who is working in the restaurant business, that's significant. That's a major radical change in their lifestyle. So this is absolutely something we hope will lead to a better retention rate over time. That's what we're studying. It's what we're measuring to see if it actually does.
You're growing pretty rapidly, both in the U.S. and abroad. How do you find those managers? Do you grow them from within? Do you find them from outside?
We really want to develop about half of our leaders from inside, and we do that. There's so many cool stories of people who started making $9, $10, $15 an hour, and now are leaders leading regions of a Shake Shack. But we also like to have some fresh thought. We like to bring people from other restaurant, retail, and other industries. That balanced team creates something that's really special. That's the way we lead our company and our restaurants.
I'm looking at where you guys are concentrated in this country. You have exposure to some pretty high wage markets, high minimum wage markets.
We do. We like to go where people get paid a lot of money. We're in mostly New York and the Northeast today. A lot of our growth has been in California and expensive places like Seattle. Over time, we've gently raised our prices. We haven't raised them as much as we could, or maybe, what we should, but we are really conservative about that. We want to make sure Shake Shack remains a tremendous, really good value for everyone, including the people who work there. Look, what we do takes full hands and full hearts. It's not a robot making your hamburger. It's hospitality, and that takes great human beings to do that. And we're gonna pay them a great wage so that we can compete.